It's now started, sir. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Pat. Call the personnel meeting. Have a roll call, please, Pat. Brandon.
Sure thing. Mr. Ethier,
Here.
Mr. Kuhn, Mr. Drake, Mr. Grimm,
Here.
Mr. Joyce, Ms. Lakakis.
I'm here.
Yep, I see Ray Joyce is here.
Yeah, I'm here. You can come off mute. Thanks, Brandon.
Yep. Mr. Reedy,
Here.
Mr. Ward. I see Sean's here, and Mr. Simpson. 6 present.
Okay, we have a quorum. Okay, read the
Here.
previous minutes. Take a motion for the previous minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Anybody second it?
Second.
I'll second that motion.
Anybody opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, Brandon, want to read the first resolution?
Sure thing. Item number 2 is authorizing the sheriff's office to consider out-of-county applicants for various positions.
Any discussion?
I
Yeah, I
think,
think,
Mr. Chairman, go ahead. Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Yep, go ahead, Mark.
I think on a previous meeting, we had a discussion about whether we could do this every 2 years instead of 1 year. Did we vote for
Yeah,
2
we
years?
did.
I can't remember. Sean, do you remember?
Well, I don't know how we voted. We did discuss it, but I don't remember how we voted on it.
I thought we went for 2 years just because we're doing this all the time. Is everybody okay with 2 years?
I
Yeah, I
don't
have
have
no
a problem
problem
with
with
2 years, but after they're hired, they're required to move into the county after a certain amount of time, I believe. Is that correct?
That's a talking point. Can I just have the floor for a quick second?
Yeah.
So
Go ahead, Chair.
this has never been a big issue for us other than our paramedics and our EMTs. And for the last 11 years, I've come back and asked to go out of the county. And we're still constantly struggling to get EMTs and paramedics, mainly because they're grossly underpaid. Story for a later meeting.
Yeah.
Now I can't get COs, I cannot get deputies, I cannot get telecommunicators, I cannot get civilian clerks to fill clerical positions. So my personal belief is this is an archaic rule and I just cannot abide by it. And it's very hard for me now to say to somebody that I'm begging almost to take a position, oh, and you need to move into the county within 365 days. This really needs to be addressed. And I cannot be the only department head that is struggling with employment. I see on the committee tonight, mental health is following me with the same request.
Yeah.
And
Everybody.
I have correction officers. I have had calls from Washington County. As far north as Essex County. I'm like, hey, if you want to come down, I'll take you because I need to fill these positions and we need people to respond to ambulances. I need dispatchers to answer 911 calls. I need law enforcement members to respond to 911 emergencies. So folks, I'm struggling here. We're out recruiting, we're Facebooking, we're doing everything we can do on social media. We're dealing with Indeed. We're struggling. And I just firmly believe this is a foolish rule or law that we have in place, and it really needs to be addressed. Nothing is getting better. I looked at some of the civil service stats, 63% down. We're 63% decrease in the people signing up for exams. I mean, it's just, we're going to be hurting if we don't do something soon. And needless to say, you can give me whatever time length you want to give me, I'll take it. But I really believe we just need to squash this and move on.
Yeah, can I jump in for a second? I couldn't agree more. And I've spoken out on this before. I think this rule, this whatever this principle is, serves no purpose whatsoever. I don't know where it's anachronistic. The sheriff, as many of our other department heads, are having an incredible difficulty filling these positions. and to saddle them also with this pointless rule is so counterproductive. It doesn't accomplish a thing. All it does is hamstring our department heads to no purpose. We should scrap this rule for good right now.
You got my vote.
Well, maybe there should be legislation there, Jeff, but I don't know if it's total though, because I wouldn't be for the county legislative staff hiring people outside the county for that. You know, there's certain exceptions I wouldn't go for, but there's no questions with the sheriff. We are getting repeated requests from this all the time. And maybe Jeff, maybe we can work together on some legislation.
Happily.
What do you say we give the sheriff 2 years now, and then we address this down the road, which it should be addressed.
Yeah, that
Sure.
sounds
Any
good.
problems with that?
That sounds good, Gil.
I'm okay.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead, Sean.
Thank you. Sheriff, I mean, to be fair, I'm a residency requirement kind of guy.
I know.
Also am very fair about waivers if needed. I have no objection to that. But can we meet in the middle ground here? Can you use a residency list first?
Yes,
And,
sir.
civil service will allow you to hire off the residency list.
Yeah, I'm totally okay with that. I'm just exhausting them, Sean. I'm going through them so fast. I've never ever had to go to an out of county list, but the problem is that I don't want to dumb down my requirements in order to fit within an archaic piece of legislation. And I understand that when things are going great, this is a perfect rule of law, but things are not good and things are not getting better. Fewer and fewer people are signing up for these exams.
Okay.
I totally understand that, but
I think Sean's still speaking.
Oh, you're still talking? Okay.
yeah, no, I just want if we could, the civil service allows both the residency and an all-inclusive list. If we can, hire, and I'm not asking you to hire somebody who wouldn't, meet the qualifications or, wouldn't, couldn't get through to the steps of being a deputy. I'll use that for an example. However, if we could start with the residency list and then go to the general list, then I don't have a problem with this.
So sir, here's my one sticking point. Excuse me. So
Yeah, okay.
my biggest fear is that, I have an awesome qualified individual right now in Rensselaer County that is looking to come over. So I totally agree with, let's look at our residents first, but now I've got to tell this individual, yes, I want to hire you, but you also need to come into the county within 365 days. And that's where it starts to get muddy. So, I guess I do want my cake and eat it too. I want to be able to hire people, that are qualified and that may not live in the county. Obviously, I'm all about hiring inside the county, but if I got to go out, am I forced to make them move in within a year? Because chances are they're not going to.
Right.
Well, we're waiving,
Okay.
aren't we? We're going to waive all that for 2 years, aren't we? That's my understanding.
Yeah, I'll make that motion tonight to make this a 2-year thing, and then we can work on legislation to speak to what the sheriff's saying.
2-year
Yeah,
thing
that
without the
makes sense.
residency requirement, just a 2-year.
No, 2 years.
Ever?
So we don't have to do it every year just to do it 2 years, but I think that's a stopgap measure. So
Okay.
I think we need legislation.
Could I add something? Could I add something else to this?
Yep.
Do you mind? I'm okay with allowing this, but I think what we've got to think about from a personnel standpoint is our present employees that have been abiding by the residency requirements for years. Is that going to open up the floodgates for them to do, move out? And my second part of that question is, I know the state, there's a state law, and I always get the firefighters and law enforcement mixed up, but I believe they have to live in an adjacent county if they do work here. Is that?
Yeah, that's actually the interesting part, is that there's state law that allows police officers to live in a contiguous county. I get that thrown at me constantly. So they do have to live in an adjoining county. Yes. And
Okay.
you remember, Sean, I think it was in 2013, I've got here, it was resolution 587, which gave it basically gave amnesty to people that were outside.
Right.
I'm not gonna sit here and act like I don't know. I mean, I've got tons of employees outside the county, but
We
I'm
know
not
that.
I'm not in a position to really, raise holy hell over that right now either.
Yep, no, I get it. So,
All right, Tim, any
yeah, I'm
more
just trying to be reasonable. Trying to be reasonable without opening the floodgates, that's all. And,
Okay, you've been very,
I'm
reasonable,
okay
Sean.
with this. I'm
All
okay
right,
with
so
this.
we okay with this now? We waive all that for the 2 years for the sheriff, and we'll discuss all the
Yes.
pros and cons of that ruling down the road.
Mr.
Correct.
Chairman, Mr. Simpson has his hand raised.
Yeah, no, I just want to say
Okay.
this is we're in a triage situation. We have to forget about the old protocols. We're not there, so we have to do whatever works right now. And in the near future, listen, one of the things I'm noticing real quick is that wherever I go, I don't care if it's the pharmacy, the doctor, the airport, there's a bunch of new people who don't know the job and don't want to learn it as because of COVID. People have either got sick, people have died, or people decided not to go back to work. So we really can't afford the old world luxury of worrying about who's in the county. We need to take every able body who's qualified that we can get and stop all the foolishness.
Thank you, Mark. Any other questions?
Gil, I would like to say that I hear you, and I don't know how I will come down on the residency requirement, and I get that we're not talking about that right now. But, everybody keeps mentioning back to our wages, and it just keeps coming up and up and up. And, I think that's something we have to do something about if that is true. Or we've asked for, like, maybe we should have some kind of a comparable, report done to see, like, where do we fall that, do we really fall that much behind all the other, municipalities in the area? Are we really not at all attractive to the average employee anymore? Because if that's true, that's a whole different problem. Then it doesn't matter where they live if they're not going to come. I mean, if you
I
can't,
totally
who
agree.
wants to drive 2 hours from Essex County, in this weather, to have a job if they don't have to,
Lynn, my paramedics are the EMTs are $5 to $8 below our neighboring communities. My paramedics are 10 to 12. And, it's hard to fill that. And then what I basically become is a stepping stone until somebody can get to Colony or go
Yeah, the
wherever.
training program. Yeah.
Right.
And we've heard that for 5 years now. And,
Yeah.
I think it's time that we figured out what to do about it. But one
And-
problem at a time.
$10 to $12. Hold on one second. $10 to $12 below.
Hey, Ms. Wilson, who's talking? May I?
Jeff Kuhn.
This is Jeff.
Okay, Jeff. Oh, I just don't have no screen. Okay, Jeff.
10 to $12 below for what's the denominator for that?
So most agencies now are in the 30s. We hover in the low 20s, like 21, 22. My paramedics, there's people dishing out ice cream at Stewart's making more money than, my EMTs. And that's something that I've actually had a number of conversations with Matt Peter on about, listen, we really need to do something. Maybe we can, all the contracts are up this year, Jeff, all of them. So, I don't want to sit here and negotiate their contract for them, but I really think that the first year we need to do something hard for them because these are the people that are responding to our emergencies. And, to get somebody that, is just taking it as a stepping stone for a few months until they can get something better doesn't do us any good either. It's a lot of training, on the job training is invaluable. So it really, Lynn, I would love to work with you. And, obviously I can only do the sheriff's office, but you wouldn't believe how disparate the numbers are.
We, back in Gil, may I ask a question or make
Go
a
ahead,
comment?
Sean. Yep, go ahead, Sean.
And Gil, you might be the only one to remember this. Back in 95, between 95 and 98, we authorized a pay equity study in Albany County. And, that it was pretty much an eye opener. Our wages have always been low. And I think at the time they did raise them up a little bit, but I think hardships, budget issues caused us not to go up to where they thought they would or they should be.
historically, we've been low for the low level, middle level jobs historically, and it should be looked at and taken care of in the future. Sooner or better.
Yeah, I think pay equity study would be the way to go. But it could be expensive. You gotta be prepared for that.
Well, sometimes it's necessary.
Yep.
Any other questions for the resolution?
So
If not, I'll take a motion.
I think Mark has a motion on the floor.
And my motion is
Mark? Okay, Mark.
to only require this every 2 years. Of course, that pending any legislation we've talked about tonight, but that's my motion.
I'll second that.
It gives the sheriff 2 years to come back again later, and all the things are waived for the 2 years. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did everybody vote, Brandon?
It looks
Yes.
like it.
It's unanimous?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sheriff. It's been unanimous.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Next
Have a great
resolution.
night. Be safe.
Hi, Sheriff.
What's the second one, Brand?
Sure. Next item 3 on the agenda is authorizing the Department of Mental Health to consider out-of-county applicants for the positions of licensed clinical social worker and licensed master social worker.
Why don't we give them the same? I'll make a motion that we do the same 2 years.
Okay.
Second.
Dr. Giordano's here. I don't know if he wanted to say anything.
He probably enjoyed the conversation.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you. I don't really have much to add to what was eloquently stated moments ago. I will just say, the mental health system is in crisis, and we're having a difficult time finding staff. As Legislator Simpson said, there are lives in the balance, and we would love to be able to entertain candidates from outside of the county boundaries.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are you okay with what we just passed? That's okay with you?
Yes, sir.
We got a motion to put the
So
mental in
moved.
there too?
2 years.
2 years? Is it
Mr.
unanimous?
Ethier,
Anybody-
Mr. Simpson has his hand up.
Yeah, I
Go
just
ahead,
want to make a brief comment. Back in 1979, when I was with the state, we had did a study of the mental hygiene therapy aids in officer mental health and officer mental retardation. And it was so bad then that we were putting people on the job who got scores of 69 because we just needed the bodies. We're in a worse position now than we were then. So we really need to look at this seriously because we ain't getting out of this thing in a couple of years. I can promise you that, sadly. So we need to seriously nail this down because it's going to be a problem for a while.
Okay, thank you, Mert. Any other discussion on it?
Well, do you need anything else from
I don't
us?
think so. Do you? What do you? I don't think so, Jeff. Do you?
No, I'm I'm asking. I was asking the witness if there's anything else. I mean, I everything I'm hearing is that this is a real crisis in the mental health sphere. That you've got the effects of the pandemic on just the labor market in general, which are then also exacerbated by the mental health impacts of the pandemic. And so I just wanted to ask Dr. Giordano if he needs anything else from us to help him in sort of dealing with the situation other than a 2-year sort of waiver.
Well, I appreciate very much the question and the sentiment. I think the best thing I could ask for from all of you is to remember just what you just said, that the mental health needs of our county are significant, and we're doing an enormous amount of work to address those needs. I think that for the most part, I'm proud of and secure in the resources we have. Right now, the challenge is just getting bodies. So I appreciate the question and, keep us in mind, but I think we're doing good overall.
Right. Well, that's good to hear. Well, keep us in mind. If there's anything we can do to help,
Yes,
let
sir.
us know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. So everybody's in favor? Is nobody opposed?
You need to have the
Motion
vote.
carried. That's
Yep.
correct.
I think we have to have a vote, Gil.
I
Well,
thought-
we had
I
a
thought
motion.
were
Did we
voting.
get a second?
Yeah,
A second?
Sean made the motion, I seconded it.
Okay.
Call for the vote, roll call.
Roll call? Okay. For the vote, roll call. Mr. Ethier,
Yes,
Mr. Kuhn,
Aye.
Mr. Grimm,
Yes,
Mr. Ray Joyce,
Yes.
Ms. Lakakis,
Yes.
Mr. Reedy,
Yes.
Mr. Simpson,
Yes.
and Mr. Ward.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
thank you. What's the next resolution, Brandon?
All right, the last item was a late addition to the agendas.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr.
Good
Giordano.
evening. Be safe.
The last
Thank you.
item is late addition is item number 4, approving the appointment of a member to the Albany County Airport Authority.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Mr. Chairman, hopefully everyone can hear me. We're reappointing Steve Hyder to the Albany Airport Authority, first appointed in 2016 and reappointed once after that.
Okay.
If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Is there any questions?
yeah, Chairman Ethier,
Before
I
you-
have a question.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I think we passed a resolution that whenever you make an appointment, you have to list if there's a salary or not. Now, I don't think there is a salary for this, but it seems like this keeps coming up when we make appointments. In the paperwork, it's supposed to be no salary or whatever salary. That was a resolution we passed. So I want to remind everyone who submits these things, there's supposed to be a salary line in here, and it's not in there.
You're right, Mark. I'm the one who brought it up several
Yeah,
years ago.
Gil, you brought it up, yeah.
I apologize. I didn't realize I admitted that.
It's no salary, right, Cameron?
I believe so.
Oh.
Mike might be able to answer that better than I can.
There's no salary.
Okay.
Is it a length of time term? Or is it a? it
It's
must be
a 4-year term.
4, that's what I thought. Okay.
Typically, we use the RLA form. So if it says there's like an amount in the RLA form, that's when you know there's a salary. So it wasn't a matter of omitting the information. It's just there is no salary.
Well, the salary should be 0, okay? Just so we're clear.
Yep. It
Because the
should be on the
resolution calls
resolution.
for that. There should be a salary line in every resolution on every appointment. That's our rules.
You're correct, Mark.
Thanks to Chairman Ethier, who was his idea.
Yes. Can we have a roll call, please? Any
Yes,
more
sir.
discussion on any more discussion on it?
Well, I can see how it's confusing, Mr. Sagan, because if it's a not salaried position, I can see where you might not put anything in there because there is no salary, but I guess.
That's something that should be made clear, and that's what the resolution says.
In the future, I will put 0. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, long roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Ethier,
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn,
Aye.
Mr. Grimm,
Yes,
Mr. Ray Joyce,
Yes.
Ms. Lakakis,
Yes, but did you have a motion in a second? I didn't note that in the, just for point of order question. Go ahead.
Okay, I am Ms. Lakakis, yes. Mr. Reedy,
Yes.
Mr. Simpson,
Yes.
and Mr. Ward.
Yes.
I thought Mr. Kuhn had seconded Mr. Grimm's motion. Did I mishear that?
I wasn't sure, so I thought I'd
yeah,
ask.
that sounds right.
Okay. Fantastic.
Thank you, everybody.
All in
Anything else
favor?
on the agenda?
No, Mr. Chairman, that is not. There's nothing else.
Thank you, everyone.
Take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second,